Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you can hear me. Let me know in the chat window if you can. Okay, welcome to everybody, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for this webinar that we're co-hosting with Knowlarity and Zendesk. And thanks so much. Yes, you can hear me clearly. A small kind of housekeeping request. If you could keep yourself on mute unless you're the presenter. And also to conserve your bandwidth, you can switch off the video unless you're a presenter. So would really appreciate that. And we will be sharing all the decks and the recording of today's webinar. So, that will reach you a little later, maybe by tomorrow. So you don't actually have to take pictures of the decks and all of that. We will take care of that. So thanks again for joining us. And this is a topic that I think is very close to every consumer's heart, which is, how do we manage a multi-channel engagement strategy? So I think the context for this is that we all can understand a great experience when we have it, but when we have to break it down into the components and try to say this was the magic element or this was the bit that made me really happy, that is a science and not so easy, but we know what is a good experience when we get it. And often today we interact with brands across so many channels, and then if one of the channels doesn't respond the way you want it, then again, there is a dissonance for you. And I think the other challenge we have is that many a time you're hoping that the whole process is going to be seamless, no interaction with the brand, and therefore you're going into the support process or the customer engagement process with a frame of mind that, you've got to do it as soon as possible the way I want it, and I want it now. So I think that's the challenge of the context. And today we have three experts with us who are going to share their insights on the topic. We have Katie Prasad, who's the country head for Zendesk, who goes up first. Then we have Gaurav Mehta, who's the CMO for Gidnar Soft. You may know Cardeco. And we also have Shantanu Mathur, who's the country head for Knowlarity. So they're going to share their insights with us. And like I mentioned, they will also share their decks with us. So with no further ado, I'm going to introduce my first speaker. And one last housekeeping question is that if you have questions to ask, feel free to put that into the chat window. And the speaker will take it as soon as his session is over, or if it's a group. Then we will take it up as soon as the session is over. Somebody from Hyderabad is very visible and audible. If we could request you to just go into mute, please. Okay, Mayuri, if we could request you to be on mute. Okay, so we're going to start now, and the first session has actually two parts to it. One is the multi-channel customer journey, and the second part is the customer experience industry trends. And to help us understand both, we have Katie Prasad, who's a country head for Zendesk. So over to you, and we're giving you the controls now.
Thank you, Jesse. Very good afternoon, everyone. It's excited to be part of this forum to share our insights. Can I go ahead and share my screen? So you guys know what I'm sharing.
Go ahead.
All right.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Thanks, Jesse. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining this webinar. Today we thought of covering the multi-channel customer experience journey along with some trends that we see happening in 2018. And the best way to probably get started is actually to give you a flavor of what customer experience journey when they go through multi-channel. So we have put in a fictitious example called Zendesk Outfitters as a business, and introduced John, who's the buyer today, and he wants to buy a favorite new shirt from Zendesk Outfitters. And he has a sister engagement over the weekend, and that's the occasion that he wants to buy. But John, like many one of us, he's very busy and he likes to shop over digital presence rather than having time to do offline shopping. So he logs into his favorite mobile app, Outfitters, Zendesk Outfitters, and looks through the shirt that he would like to make a purchase. And he finds the shirt that he would like to purchase. And then he has a question: does the shirt get shipped within the time that he can wear for the engagement for his sister? And the best way to find that information is to go and visit the help center on the mobile app. He goes onto the Quickly mobile app help center, looks at the shipping information, and he finds the shipping information seems to be good, and it comes within 2 to 3 working days. However, the friends of John all thought about having a color TV, and he wants to ensure to see if the color of the choice is available within the same shirt. And the best way to find that out is actually starting a live chat with Zendesk Outfitters. Initiates the chat, starts having the question and answers with Amy from Outfitters, and asks, hey, the color comes in green, and things of the nature. And then all of a sudden, John gets a call from his manager and says, hey, John, we need to talk about the business proposal. Where the hell are you? Come and see me now. So John has to get out of this chat and move on to business. And then he lets the chat. Now, from a Zendesk Outfitters perspective, it is a potential loss of revenue. Hence, they got to be connected to John in a different offline manner and continue the conversation. And Outfitters, the best way to do it is actually Zendesk Outfitters send out the proactive SMS to John and say, hey, John, following up our chat, and looks like you're a conversation and asking us the shirt is already in green. When you're ready, do respond back saying that to give us a call, and we will call you to help you to the purchase process. Now that's fantastic. John sees the SMS, but he responds to the SMS when he gets the time, and the best way that he gets time is on his transit back from office to home in the evening. And when Zendesk gets his message, they will call John to help him to the transaction process and helps him get his shirt. And order is processed, John gets his shirt, he's happy, and Outfitters, along with the order confirmation, they also seek whether they're happy with the purchase that John has made. It's good to get the perspective about customers and what experience they're giving it. Now, if you have to put everything in the order, but before that, because John gets a fantastic experience, he goes on tweets about what a customer experience they had with Outfitters, which is fantastic. Now, if you have to put all the journey of John in a simpler context, he starts with in-app experience and then goes into the help center, which is self-service. It starts a chat, which basically gets abandoned because it's got some other busy work. However, Zendesk Outfitter reaches out to him proactively on SMS and eventually will call him, help him through purchase process, and close business for John. Shirt, confirmation, purchase confirmation went to John, which is fantastic for him, and seeks the feedback. Now, what are the benefits of multi-channel engagement? As you see, convenience plays a very important role. Outfitter offers different channels so that it makes it easy for John to get in touch with and make a purchase, or through the process of engagement. Now, very important, you got to have a good context of what the customer has been talking to you or having a context with you. So having a good context like Zendesk Outfitter had, what customer has done so far and what they're going to do, gives a very good perspective and also helps solve a complexity. And having the right channels for the right interaction helps businesses to scale and have better customer experience. Now, moving on to industry trends, and we thought, why stop at 2018, which is just touch and go in about a month's time? But we thought we'll give you some trends, go up to 2020 and beyond. And we, being a market leader in customer experience, we work with various research companies and consultants to see where the customer expectations are going. And one such report is Accenture report on customer 2020. And 89% of the customers agree that businesses need to offer consistent experience across all channels. And 60% of those customers prefer to use a different contact channel based on what they're doing and where they are. It's important to have a good context, and this comes from Accenture report. While you're designing your customer experience, keep those in mind that customer expectations are changing. And those customer expectations beyond and by the ages are different. The channel of preferences are different. Now, when you look at your customers, consumers who are under age 25, their first channel preference is social media and mobile application. Not very surprised there. When you go look at the age between 25 to about 45, 50, their channel preference slowly drifts towards email and mobile app, and go up to 50 and above, their channel preference would be the first channel preference is telephone. Now, looking at the context of India, still the proponent channel is actually telephone. However, the customers are seeking emerging channels like email, mobile, and social media. And all this data is coming in from Dimension Data 2016 Contact Center report. Now, as I was saying, there is expectation on customers on how you need to be engaged, and they want to be engaged is a different emerging channels. Now, this is coming from Loud House. Now, if you look at it, the traditional channels like email, phone, and self-service have been the biggest engagement channels. But however, the emerging channels like chat, messaging, social, as upwards of 30% of customers want to engage, you as a business. So it's got to look at the good blend of what you're providing and what customers are providing, because the expectations are changing and changing faster. And in the next 2 to 3 years, we see there's a huge uptake for chat, messaging, and social as a channel. Now, this customer expectations are continues to raise, and we conducted a customer care survey recently, and we compared what were expectations in 2013 versus 2016, and you see that there's a huge increase on how customer expectations are changing, and they're changing dramatically in emerging channels like social media. Within 2 hours, the customer wants you to respond. If the expectations were 52% in 2013, that's gone up to 72%. Now look at in 2016, it's 81% of the customers who expect you to resolve their query that they go across in social media mention in 2 hours. Now in 2018 and 2019, we believe that it goes and pushes even 90. But if you see the traditional channels like phone and and email, they continues to be stable, but the expectations are constantly climbing and towards the right side. Now, when you have good customers, make sure that you convert the customer interactions as good customer experience, because when customers have good experience, they actually promote the brand. At the same time, when the customers have a bad experience, they detract your brand, and you would like to engage them more to see if you can convert them as promoters, because when you have happy customers, they actually become your ambassadors of brand, which is very important to have. Now, when you want to deliver a unified experience, like you see John having an experience across multiple channels, it's also important when you're defining a unified experience to have a right technology, tool, solution for agents who are providing customer support. Now, you look at different channels, and if you had different siloed channels, information that you're providing for agents to go and comprehend to customer query, it's too difficult. Like abandoned chat, imagine the chat team is completely different, and there's no way that outfitters could have continued the conversation on SMS. Now, it's important to have a good user experience and have the right tools and technology to really define unified experience between customer and agent. Agent need to see everything that customer has touched upon across multiple channels, so they can take where it stopped, or where the customer stopped, and where it can start again the conversation. As Zendesk, we are a company who are products across all the channels, and we are known for providing beautifully simple software for a better customer experience. And we have products all the way for email, ticketing, which are traditional, which we call support, and some of the advanced help center, things like Guide, which also comes with answering bot capabilities, and some of the emerging channels like chat, message, and traditional channel like talk, something that we have. But in India, because of TRI regulations, we don't sell talk directly. Hence, we have partners like Knowlarity who are in the call, and then go to market. So that you as a customer can get to have all the channels within our partner ecosystem. But what continues to change the game, we want to change this game of customer experience and enable you to engage customers proactively. That's exactly what a product called Connect does for you. With all of these products and multiple channels, you need to know what's working well and what's not. And you need a good customer deep insight analytics that comes from a product called Explore. Thank you very much. And I would hand over back to Jesse to take it forward. If you have any questions, please post them on our chat window, please. I'll help them answer towards the end of the session.
Yeah, so actually, if you could request that if there are any questions, just post them in the chat window, and if you can address them on chat, And those that, require a little more explanation, we will take them at the end. So thanks so much. That was very insightful. And I actually do have a couple of questions on that. We'll come to that. So I'd now like to introduce Gaurav Mehta, who's the CMO of Gidnar Soft. And, in our webinars, we do want to highlight the practitioner's perspective. What is it like on the ground? What really works? What do customers really expect? And so over to you, Gaurav.
Thanks, Jesse. Can you hear me?
Can hear you very well.
Perfect. I'll request Jesse if you can only handle the screen rather than me doing it here. I think that just worked much better.
Okay, sure.
Perfect. So yeah, so I will very quickly round back and provide my point of view on how, as the marketing head of a new age business, do I look at consumer experience, and is it a process or is it something that is it something
we have someone who's sharing the screen. Okay, we're going to share our screen in a minute, but right now it is the wrong screen. Someone called Mahesh is sharing the screen. Just give us 2 minutes so that we will share your deck.
Sure. So quickly, I'll just tell you, my next 15 minutes, I'm going to be using my own personal experiences, anecdotes about how we looked at consumer experience while building out OLX earlier and Car Deco currently. For people who don't know, Gidnar Soft is some other company of auto portals like Car Deco, Gaadi Easy Wheels. I've been here for about a year now as the Chief Marketing and Content Officer. And for 4 years before that, I was the Chief Marketing Officer, South Asia, OLX. So I'll try and share some experiences from the past 5 years of how did we look at consumer experience and build the businesses. So one of the things that always used to happen on an annual basis was my discussions with OLX Classified CEO, the person who used to look at all the 40 countries, and the global CFO. These discussions used to be on the budgets that I used to ask for my annual marketing plans. And as is the case, and as everybody can imagine, these things used to be quite interesting. Sometimes we were on different ends of the spectrum while making a decision, but my entire objective about, or my conviction about asking for these monies were that we were always investing in our brand equity. We were building out a brand, and as for me, I'm brand equity is nothing but an investment into your future earning potential. But the question that I always used to ask myself was, brand equity equal to just putting out an ad on TV, hiring Kapil Sharma, or doing a snazzy ad, or was it something else? I think any which way you were to slice this conversation, it was never only about awareness, but how many well-wishers of the brand you accumulated as you went by. And well-wishers had to be convinced about the value that we were bringing to them. How much were you extending yourself to make sure that your platform gave value to them? I'll share 2 examples. They always stick in my mind when it comes to great customer experience. So the more recent one is Car Deco. I remember we have a dealer teams, right? This dealer team rep had this request from a gentleman who wanted to buy a car and wanted it to be delivered on his wife's birthday. And we were helping him do that, and the dealer had confirmed that he will get the car on his wife's birthday. That means it was primarily we had done our job, and now it is dealer's job to do that. Unfortunately, what happened, the dealer said that the car's color is not being available, so there'll be a slight delay. Now, technically, Car Deco was in the clear because we had done all that had to be done, and it was the dealer's job to give that car on to the gentleman on his wife's birthday. But this representative took it upon himself, and he spoke to Honda. The car in question was Honda. He actually called up Honda headquarters and through his connections, and he made sure that the car color that he had asked for was delivered to this particular dealership on the gentleman's wife's birthday. Needless to say that he went over and above his call of duty to make sure that such a momentous occasion for this particular man who's buying this gift to his wife was not ruined upon. The best part was that this was not something that was his KRA or he was expected to do. It was just that he was convinced about the value that this action would have garnered for the person who's buying that car. And he was convinced of that story. So he really went above and beyond his call of duty to make sure that at the end of the car, they managed to deliver value to a consumer. Second, and maybe this is even much more interesting, was about 3 years back, there was a man who wanted to buy this particular brand of sports shoes on OLX. The gentleman was from Behrod, which is about halfway between Delhi and Jaipur, a small little town. He was a sports teacher over there. And he wanted to buy this particular brand of sports shoes, 12 size, and he obviously could not afford those shoes. I think a new shoe would have costed upwards of 10,000-12,000. On OLX, he was getting the same for 2,000 to 2,500. What happened when this guy contacted this person in Gurgaon? He was willing to travel like almost 100 kilometers to buy this pair of shoes. Apparently, the seller had already sold up these pair of shoes. And this gentleman approached OLX with this problem that the shoe that he wanted to buy is not there anymore. Being a C2C marketplace, OLX had no role to play in getting the merchandise. But again, this particular colleague of ours who was front-ending the conversation made sure that he went online himself and he dug out a pair of shoes which was similar to the one that he liked. And then he helped him matchmake, and then that's how the deal happened. Again, why I'm sharing these examples, because if customer experience is not just a process but a way of doing business for all of us, then it becomes so much more easy. Then the whole multi-channel engagement comes to the forefront much more easily. Where Katie Prasad also spoke about the different touch points. Sometimes it can be a little bit hard if you are like looking at it just from a consumer experience professional's perspective. But if each and every person in the organization, be it sales, be it marketing, be it the customer service agent, be it finance, if everybody is convinced about the value that they have to give to the consumer, then this multi-channel engagement really comes to life. As per me, the slide that is on screen, that's my attempt at defining what a great consumer experience is. That how can you invest yourself, your time, your resources in educating the consumer so that the person can derive the most amount of value from your proposition, from your business, from your organization. If that is something that we all hold dear, then the multi-level channel engagement strategy really comes to the fore. Then you have this really solid brand equity that gets attached to your business on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, on a minute basis. Jesse, next slide, please.
Yep, we're just putting it up.
Yeah. So that is a philosophy behind like great customer experience, as per me. Earlier, the customer experience used to be quite transactional in nature. A person bought something on your platform, and then you send certain feelers and so on and so forth. Great experience, then great. If there's a bad experience, hopefully the redressal systems are strong enough to take care of those also. As per me, it has to be much more proactive. While CRM is an effective and a very essential part of your customer experience strategy, there's something that I also believe in a lot, which is customer lifecycle management. How can you look at your data, your big data, make effective cohorts, and see and predict what is it that your consumer wants going forward? Can you as a business create systems, policies, procedures that helps the person know what he or she wants even before they actually want it? can you provide the pillars on which your entire customer experience is not just reactive but proactive? Customer lifecycle management is a very able ally of customer relationship management, as for me. And that is how, through technology, through data that you are almost generating on a nanosecond basis, can be put to great use. We at Cardeco do that to track a person's customer lifecycle journey and make sure that they are really able to buy the right car at the right budget in the least amount of time. And that is only possible by tracking a lot of data, by tracking a lot of consumer behavior, making models that helps us project the person's next 2 or 3 actions on our site and make sure that the sites are geared to deliver that experience. For me, that is also a great example of proactive customer experience. And I sincerely think that this has more value for the consumer than just transaction-related customer experience. Next slide, please, Jesse. Yeah, so on the slide right now, we see a bucket with a lot of holes and the water seeping out, right? For me, this is nothing but leaky bucket syndrome. What does leaky bucket syndrome mean? That the amount of water pouring in, more similar, if not more, water kind of keeps on pouring out because of the holes in the bucket. That means as a chief marketing officer or head of marketing, my job role was to make sure that I got a lot of new users on the site. I was expanding the category and so on and so forth. But if my education of the consumer was subpar, then they were bouncing off also very, very rapidly. If the experience of the product and fulfillment was like not good enough, that person wasn't coming on the site again. Let alone like only one visit, but that person was also going and then telling 10 other people who were considering my services that don't go on OLX or Cardeco. These guys really don't do what they promise. Great customer experience is actually an antidote for this leaky bucket syndrome. Till the time your customer experience can't make people stick around on the site, on your platform, on your businesses, you will always have a problem where you will have higher churn. I think Katie also spoke about it and he put it in numbers also. As long as you have churn, you will never ever be a stable business. You will always keep on investing in acquiring consumers, which is one-way ticket to being a business failure. Which is where I think great customer experience needs to educate and retain consumers once they are on the site and help them gain value from the platform as such. Next slide, please, Jesse. This is the last thing I want to speak about. I see a comment from Suresh that husband people in talent would help too. I agree, which is to my first point that for me it's not a department's function. It's actually across the entire organization. And if you were to train your CFO, CMO, sales head, as well as you train your customer service agents, then I think that business stands to gain a lot more. So I absolutely agree, Suresh. The last point that I want to bring to everybody's notice right now is there's a certain funnel by which you acquire and retain a consumer. Your actions at each and every point of that funnel differ. I'll give a very quick understanding. Broad end of the funnel is when you acquire a consumer. When you actually, some people are just casual consumers and some people are serious about propositions. There's a churn that customer maybe certainly go down to the buying stage. There's some churn that happens at that particular stage, and from churning, from people who bought, certain people come back and buy again. How do you make sure that your customer experience discipline or ethos is making sure that you are adding value at each and every stage of this funnel of customer acquisition, retention, success, and repeat purchase? Those are very necessary to identify, because the steps that you take at each and every stage of those funnel, that particular funnel, differ from each other. The consumer's education and evolution also goes through as they consume the proposition much better. So a person who's already repeating with you 2 or 3 times doesn't need to be handled in the same manner as a person who's come on the site or platform for the first time. That's also essential so that you can actually deploy your multi-channel engagement strategy accordingly. Maybe for a person who's your prime customer, you can have a customer agent serving that person. In Katie's presentation, we saw there was a lot of like chatbots, and so on and so forth. Maybe that is much better geared towards the top end of the funnel, where you have many more people. And maybe certain specific basic needs which are homogeneous to everyone. So looking at the funnel and creating solutions at each and every stage of the funnel is something that is not only good for the consumer, but also good for your own bottom lines, so that you deploy something which is lean but equally effective at each and every stage. Those were some of my observations from my experience as heading marketing for OLX and Cardeco, 2 digital businesses, very different businesses. But how did we look at customer experience and deploy them in making not just the business, but also serving our consumers as good. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Gaurav. It happens for most of us that, one experience is fine, but it's not perfect, then nobody comes back and again you're finding new leads. So absolutely agree with you that getting this right would fix the leaky bucket syndrome that many of us are dealing with. So thank you so much for that. And I do see that comment. And if others have questions, you can just put it on the chat window for now till we finish the next session, and then we will take up as well. So I'd like to introduce our next speaker. He's going to talk about the role of voice in customer service, and that's Shantanu Mathur, country head for Knowlarity. And I see his deck has come up.
Hi guys, how are you doing? Can you guys hear me?
I can.
Okay, excellent. Thanks everyone. This has been actually really cool to listen to the other speakers also, because all of us are always struggling with customer experience, and it's a good learning experience to be just stepping back and listening to it. My 10 minutes, I'm going to focus a little bit on how one of the most important channels in communication, the voice, which we have Kitty about a bit, and what's happening in the world of voice, which is bringing it to modern age, where automation and other cool tools can be brought in. So just going to focus very heavily on that. I think just for a little context, even as a company, all of us, we've spent a lot of time talking about it. Customer experience is key. All of these companies have their own unique customer experience paradigm. And a couple of the international ones have created this massive persona around them about experience, but even Ola and Flipkart have created some wonderful experiences, and a lot of people swear by them and only use them, and that's the kind of uniqueness about customer experience which they have built up. It's not just about one thing, it's many different things which work together, which come together in the businesses. Moving forward, to make customer experience and customer engagement powerful, one of the most important things is customer communication, and having both ends of the equation, which is the agent end and the customer end, being very powerful and contextual is what makes a difference. So that's where this presentation we focus on, is more around the communication journey, as I mentioned earlier. A little bit of a step back, right? So communication has evolved massively from the original man who used to do fire signals as a way of communicating, to carrier pigeons, to now the laptops in the modern world of iWatches and even Google Glass, which came out for a little bit. But in all of this, the amount of channels of communication which are available are massive, and but it is still all of it is not kept up. The businesses have not always kept up perfectly in all of these places, right? So what we are trying to do is, by this push in the cloud, we're trying to bring all the improvements which the technology has to offer at the grassroots level, where it's available for each and every business to use and be a part of the modern age. And as again we mentioned, like, the reason voice is so important for us is because even today in India's market, it still is one of the largest channels. From some of the data we have seen, some internal benchmarking we've done across the customer base, it's a disproportionately higher amount of interaction which happens in the Indian customer and business segments. It happens over voice, as opposed to the international markets where other sources have taken up. That doesn't mean the other sources and other channels won't grow up. I think they will, and we are obviously building around that. But I think the core focus we have is improve what is the problem and what is the fix today, and move forward from there. So a couple of things which we have felt have been a big part of what's missing in customer communication today. And those two are context and connectivity. So connectivity is all about when you call someone or when you're trying to get in touch with someone, you actually are able to talk to them or not. And we have seen data that 30% of calls go unattended, which leads to loss in business, loss in customer experience. And that is a massive, massive loss. And we've actually seen numbers as we go down different businesses range from 50 to 60% of calls which are missed on an average to almost 30 to 40 being kind of the median, if nothing else. And this is where Knowlarity has focused, right? So the first beginning of Knowlarity happened with this receptionist product, where what we did was bring the IPBX onto the cloud and democratize it. So any size business, be it small, medium, or even a large business or a large establishment, can actually get the ability to connect their customers and their agents together seamlessly. And if one of the agents is busy, they can just go through the list and get someone else who's available connected to the customer. And if everybody is busy or not available, then we can obviously record which calls were missed, or even record voice messages or other kind of alerts by which we ensure that the end stakeholder gets alerted about the calls they missed, and they can immediately react to that. We built a lot more on top of this though. We built automated outbound calling. We built a call center product. We built a missed call product, which is used for virtualization. We built tons of click-to-call products and virtual numbers. All of these were built with the vision to make sure the connectivity between the end user or the consumer, and the agents or the business is done perfectly. And it ranges all, like a 30, 40, 50 person service center will use a call center product. A small 5 or 6 agent setup will use our standard super receptionist product. And we've also built specific add-ons which allow you to automatically return calls which you missed using our automated systems. So if you're having a peak time and you've had 50 calls come in simultaneously and only 30 agents were there, the 20 of those calls get missed. A scheduler will pick it up and immediately put it back in your redial mode, and so that your agents don't even have to do anything. They'll just pick it up and start dialing outwards again. So a lot of these product suites were built, which basically means anybody who's running a customer contact center or anybody who wants to be in touch with the customers and talk to the customers can use any one of our technologies and do that seamlessly. And obviously, context is a critical part, which is why one of the most important things we've done is integrate with some of the major CRMs out there. And obviously, Zendesk is one of the biggest partners we have and one of the most seamless integrations which we have done. It is easy to sets up in less than 5 minutes. You can do it from the Zendesk system or on one of our systems. And it's more importantly, when the agent is on the Zendesk platform, all the calls which are coming in, all the information is right there in front of them. They will see the name of the person who's calling, the previous tickets will pop up, they can take notes right over there, and thus a really cool amount of interaction can happen over there with right at the Zendesk point itself. And obviously the managers also can see all the information ranging from which agents are busy, what is the type of calls which came in, all the detailed reports. These are completely embedded into the Zendesk platform, and it's a seamless integration. So this is where the connectivity is managed by the multiple suite of products we have in the context of what the last conversation was. Did this person last time call about the shirt he ordered, or did this customer have a good experience last time? All of that is captured, and the agents have it available at the drop of a hat when they're talking to the customer live. But this is what we have been doing. there's a huge change in what we're trying to do ahead. And this is building on things which are about analytics. It's about artificial intelligence. It's about Siri and Alexa and Google Home, which are bringing in this amazing amount of artificial intelligence and automation into our lives. And building on all of these technologies which we see in the market, for the last year and a half, we've been working on this, and we are happy to launch the platform called Katie. This is the Knowlarity Artificial Intelligence Experience. This platform is built on the basis of text-to-speech, which is converting spoken text into speech. And it is also built on speech recognition, which means if I'm like the speech I'm giving right now, the keywords or other words of that can be recognized, and based on that, rules can be set. And all of this comes together with a very advanced database and reporting mechanism, which allows us to pull all of these things together and create phenomenal use cases for them in the day-to-day usage. So one of the coolest products in this is the ASR product, or speech recognition. It solves the basic problem of, do you know what your customers are saying about you? All of us, bulk of our calls today are coming in, a bulk of our interactions are on the phone, either through a contact center or other sources. And this, the only way we could track what was happening there was by having manual QA checks, which we used to sample the calls and figure out what was happening. Now, with this technology, we have the ability of scanning each and every conversation, even if it's a dual person conversation, and scanning it for all the major tasks. And as you can see from the word cloud on the right, we have the ability to tag all those major keywords, all the words which have been spoken, and even actually transcribe them and identify them, which makes sure that the QC now is 100%. It also makes sure that when you're reviewing your work, you can actually go in and review specific words of happy customers, unhappy customers, or complained, or find those words and search through those specific calls and information. And this also gets through the Zendesk system and gets tagged, so within which you're able to very easily go through your tickets and see those automatic tags and handle your customer engagement from that perspective. Some other implementations which we have done of these, and this is something which is really, really exciting for us, is we have built a lot of automated customer engagement and customer reaction systems. For example, there's this massive payments company which has a huge set of customers where they do collections. And the way they utilize our system is, earlier they used to have around 100 to 200 agents who used to be sitting and making calls on a daily basis. Now, they no longer make those calls through humans. They use our KT system, which goes through all 10,000 to 20,000 customers, which have to be called in a matter of hours, as opposed to a matter of 15 to 20 days, which it took around 20, 30 agents to do. So the amount of time it takes us to reach out to all those customers has increased. The effectiveness has increased because KT is tireless. It just keeps trying again and again till they pick up the phone and make the calls happen. Many other trainings have been, many other setups are there, which include doing OTP disbursements, including onboarding and training, and anything which is a simple experience, it can be translated to the automated system. We're also built some reports around in the food delivery, in the table reservation management systems, in delivery automation, in delivery reminder automation, in scheduling, and a ton of other use cases which are present in the market and which are currently using our automated systems. There are a couple of more examples, but I'm going to keep it off over here, just from the time perspective. But folks, this is basically what it is. In the world of customer engagement, we're here to help you increase your connectivity. And we're also working on tools which will allow you to automate that customer experience and just create tons of information analytics around it, which will help you make it a lot more powerful. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. And so, I mean, you're getting a lot of praise on the chat window, but there is a question which actually has popped up, which I think maybe you can take, which is, does Zendesk offer chatbots? And a little bit of expansion on, where do you see chatbots fitting into an overall customer experience strategy?
Sure, I think you should take this. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jesse. Does Zendesk offer multi-channel support? Yes, we do. It's across the traditional email channel to some of the social channels. And what we have felt, actually, we have seen businesses have mobile app presence on the Play Store, and this Play Store, a lot of the times the reviews are actually deteriorate the customer experience. People talk about experience on the store, which is basically we have made a provision for the channel to actually even come back into your mainstream. That means you can engage your customers even on a Play Store comments and reviews, because the better the review, the better the downloads. But, Shantanu, you're on. Shantanu, you're actually on. No, can you go on mute, Shantanu? Thank you. All right. Excellent. And some of the traditional channels are email and now what we're seeing in the market is actually as chat, probably the market leader in this segment with over 40,000 customers across the globe, and a small, medium, big, all sizes, all the way from Uber, to somebody like Airbnb and a bunch of other customers. Some of the things that's happening in the market is actually around social messaging. So we were probably the first one to launch a Facebook Messenger integration. And again, this is basically means you as a business can have your presence felt in Facebook Messenger, and consumers, like they interact with the friends, they can actually interact with you as a business. So the tone of interaction we have seen observed on social media messaging is very friendly and personal. And there are a good number of customers around even in the channel. But the beauty actually, when we can offer all these channels, but for the business, it's actually all channels integrated into one seamless user experience. And that's exactly what Zendesk does. Now, on the question about chatbots, we do live chat. Chatbots are a different topic by itself. I think it's a great technology, bots as a technology. There are a good number of strategies that we have seen businesses adopting. And our strategy and take on chatbots actually, hey, we provide human interaction, human empathy based live chat. But you as a business, you believe that bot is something that you wanted to deploy with artificial intelligence that need to interact back to your customers. And when you need to transition back to human, we provide APIs. So all our products comes with API first. So that means we can actually integrate back into your line of business. And in an automated chat, bot doesn't answer and it need to be transitioned back to a human, we can help you make that. Actually, that's the last piece of puzzle that we help you solve. I think those are the two set of questions, chatbots. But I would believe bots is a way forward. We got to look at applicability and usage of these bots. We have seen especially bots like Microsoft bot that got deployed called Tay. I don't know how many of you have seen. And when it got deployed, they got to take it down in 24 hours because it became racial and started making sexist remarks. Because you put in artificial intelligence, so the bot could be as good as the kind of questions it get to answer, and it learns from the question. So you got to be really careful on where you put bots. And I'm more than happy to talk at length on how bots can be helpful, whereas the rest of the other channels can do help your business.
So we have time for one last question, and this comes through private message. So it's a slightly broad question. So basically, it says that look, there are multiple channels, and one speaker mentioned that proactive is better than reactive, and voice is very preferred in India. So if someone were to be planning their overall experience strategy, which channels would you prioritize for the India market?
I'll probably take the first one, Jesse, and then hand over to Shantanu and Gaurav so they can add and chip in. See, India is still heavy voice users, unlike the West. So we believe, including the West countries and the developed and developing countries, voice will be continues to be there, because it is the most prominent channel when you have to handle the complex queries, which cannot be written on email. It requires a sense of urgency, like I lost my credit card, I need to block it. Things of the nature. That's where in India we have kind of worked with partners like Knowlarity to provide voice-based technology to back to customers. Where we have seen the traditional channels like telephone, email are the little older ones, and some of the new ones we have seen adopting is chat. I think when we've seen customer adopting voice and email, the next step they would do a live chat, and then they would enable social channels, and then finally go and put a bot technology on top of it. It's a maturity curve when you go across channels, but the easiest way that you wanted to start, the starting point is usually email and telephone. Shantanu, you want to input?
Sure. No, I think that fits in very well with what we have seen. We built chatbots and a bunch of and chat tools, etc. But bulk of the volume which we have seen happens through our telephone line. In our own personal support center, where we do a few hundred tickets over time, even we have tried to push a lot of customers towards the chat and the email, actually chat more than anything else, because that's where it's much more efficient for us, etc. But still, for more complex, like Katie said, and also for a large volume, we are dealing with the phone calls, especially through our engagement and relationship managers. But I think where the interaction is about information, where the interaction is about statuses, where the information about simple stuff, I think this is where I would actually take a page out of the proactive book and say, using voice and other such tools, especially with the new technology like we talked about earlier, using them as a proactive means will really help you ease the load on the support system which you have. But to answer your question directly, it is very straightforward. I think voice is the voice and email or ticketing is, as Zendesk provides, is one of the most important channels in the beginning.
Great. Gaurav, do you want to just add any remarks to that?
Yeah, so my perspective is, what is the decision-making ethos for providing that assistance, be it proactive or reactive? And that for me is the most important thing. How are you looking at your consumer behavior, cohorts, and so on and so forth? Voice, for me, maybe I'll just talk about the industry I represent, which is cars buying. Just again, an anecdote, I'm like, within a certain period of time, if a call goes out to a prospective buyer, their propensity to buy that particular car goes up by 30%. So not a message, not an app push, but within 30 minutes, a call that goes out from our agent who explains to him or her about the car that they intend to buy, that just increases the propensity of the car purchase. So I think it depends on the industry that you are in. Ours is a high involvement category, so a little bit more understanding for the consumer is needed. Voice plays a good part.
Great. Thanks to all of you for joining us today. And I think we're out of time, so I'm going to wrap up. Just some quick housekeeping messages, which is, if we don't have your email ID, then we can't send you the presentations and the recording. So do make sure that your real email ID is with us. And you can just put it in the comment box as well, or send it personally to us. And thanks so much for joining us today. And we do have more stuff on this topic coming up, and we will keep you posted on that. Thank you so much. Thank you. And Shantanu shared his email ID if anybody wants to contact him directly as well.
Yes, guys. Thank you. Bye.